The Jesus Lizard returned to our stages last year and to our stereos with the incredible Rack album on Ipecac Records, and they performed their first UK performances live in 16 years on our shores to sold out crowds, huge critical acclaim, and since then the band have released three extraordinary singles, and today we're very honoured to be joined by their frontman, David Yao. David, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure, George. Where are you? What is this?
Leeds,
Are you in a hot sauce store?
I am. I'm in the chili shop in Leeds. This is my shop.
I love that shit.
Oh, wicked, wicked.
Do you work there?
Yeah. I use it as my makeshift studio when we're not selling sauce.
Do you have any El Yucateca stuff?
Yeah, we do, man. We got the full range.
I love that shit. This one, the black one, is
Yeah,
my
that's the cool.
absolute favorite.
Yeah, that's the good one.
It's addictive.
Very, very. Yeah, we have a whole Mexican section. I actually trialed out some of those sauces with a band called Bujeria from Mexico. We had them on before.
Uh,
So yeah. So first of all, I was lucky enough to be at your Leeds show at the Brudenell Club, and one of the things that I found utterly refreshing about that night was that it had it felt alive. It felt live. Anything could happen, and it just it's what I've been for in the live arena for quite a while. How has it been for you returning to the live arena after the time away?
it's been a lot of fun. I love those other three guys, and they're really good at what they do, and so it's been a whole lot of fun to play these shows. I'm pretty happy with the new record, and it's been excuse me, it's been a blast to sort of play these new songs live instead of some of the reenactment stuff in the few years before recording Rack. And we're just doing the same shit that we've been doing for I think 70 years. Um, it's been nice to incorporate some new stuff in there, and
Yeah, it was,
it's been a lot of fun. The the crowds have been great. Good audience reactions. The shows in the States have been freaking me out because some of them are really really big. I mean, in the old days, you know, 1,200 people, maybe 1,500 people was about as big as it got for us. And we've been doing shit for like 3,500 people and stuff. It's freaking me out.
hmm, absolutely. Do you think that the music industry at the moment needs this resurgence in noise rock and stuff? Because I was talking to Buzz from the Melvins the other day, and I think music seems to be so safe at the moment that we just need something that feels like it could jump out the speakers and grab you. Do you feel that way about music at the moment?
I don't really keep up with it, George, but I mean, I've felt that for quite some time, and now I feel like there's a lot of bands. I mean, see, I don't keep my finger on the pulse, but I mean, it seems to me that there are a pretty fair number of bands that are um, not as safe as it's always been. Like Amyl and the Sniffers or the uh, Viagra Boys
Oh
or
yeah.
Idols. There's a bunch of bands that have sort of more balls than it seems like the average has had for a while. Um, so that's a plus.
Absolutely, absolutely. And another thing I noticed live was the size of your set list. Obviously, that speaks to the discography that you have to play with. Yeah, that's it was an incredible gig because you really got your bang for your buck. How do you keep that up every night? I mean, because bands like, who have much smaller set lists than that moan about touring. How do you keep the energy up?
Well, I don't know that I do keep it up. I'm
Ooh.
usually pretty exhausted by the end of that. During that UK show, UK tour, I think there was one point where we did 6 nights in a row, and I told our booking agent, no more, no, we're not doing 6 nights in a row again. 5 nights tops.
Mm,
Um, because yeah, we're everybody's older than they used to be, and it's a challenge to uh, try and it's not possible for me to behave the way I used to and still live through it, but I sort of try, and
mm.
so uh, spending an hour and a half trying to do that is, um, like I said, a challenge.
Absolutely. And like amazing props to the band because they were so tight. And it was really cool to hear like older tracks like Boilermaker next to new tracks, and all of them meshing together so well. There was no sort of like dip or, they were all like one cohesive unit. It sounded very good. And it speaks to the tightness of your band that honestly, just live, there was like sometimes when you see a band live, you notice that there's a difference to what they are on record. With your band, not at all. You're getting that. You get everything. And it was quite incredible. I mean, is that just muscle memory from playing together for so long?
Well, those guys are really, really good musicians, and
Mm.
they've only gotten better since 1999. Because they've been playing continuously. Um, so I don't think it's muscle memory. I think it's just aptitude and uh, capability.
Mm. Oh yeah, absolutely. Your rhythm section alone is tight. It's
Are you a
incredible.
musician?
I am, yes. Yes,
Okay,
yes.
good.
I'm a music
Cool.
producer. Um, yeah, so you've released three singles since Rack, like in quite quick succession. And there's this EP on the way, Flux. Um, is this productivity the result of having music that's been written over those years when you weren't out, or is it that had a sudden burst of inspiration working together and a lot of songs have come out?
Um, well, the only song that was from the actual old days is Lord Godiva, which I think we wrote about 27 years ago. It just never, I think we played it a couple times live. I'm not sure. Never got a good recording of it. And so all the stuff that's on Rack and Flux EP wasn't, you said a burst. It wasn't necessarily a burst because there was so much time. Uh, but the other guys had been working on, structural ideas for a while before they sort of pitched it to me. And I was impressed with what they had and figured, okay, maybe I can write some shit for this stuff. And uh, it it wasn't easy because it's been so long since I. I mean, at first I was going, I don't know how to write a song.
Right.
Um, I don't know that I ever knew how to write a song. It's just like, um, uh, God, I'm just rambling. I don't know what I'm talking about.
No, I get it. I mean, you had released a solo album, hadn't you, before this?
Yes,
Yeah.
I don't remember
Was
when that
that
was.
handy to get back in the saddle?
Well, no, because I started that in '96, I
All
think.
right.
Um, as soon it was Alex Hacke from Einstürzen and Neubauten,
Oh
a
yeah.
dear friend of mine, and he had shown me back in the mid '90s, showed me the sort of rudiments of Pro Tools, and so I got Pro Tools and just started fucking around with some ideas, and I had a handful of them when I first met Mike Patton, and he and Greg were doing Ipecac Records, and he grabbed me by the shoulders and said, "You're going to do a solo album, and I'm putting out whether you like it or not." And I said, "Well, that's great because I've already got like 5 songs for it." And so I continued on, but I think from start to finish, that record took like 11 years
Wow.
um, of not working very hard. Um, uh, yeah.
Yeah. That's it's incredible. It's incredible. I understand this Flux EP that's going to be released on Record Store Day this year. Get the plug in for that.
I believe so.
Yes, absolutely. One of the titles of the singles, which strikes a chord for someone who's living in the UK, was Cost of Living. Now, this, this has been a buzz phrase. I don't know whether you know this, you probably do, but it was a buzz phrase for our former government, for the fact that like our economy was awful, and they just called it the cost of living, and every headline was the cost of living crisis, and we had cost of living payments. And I wondered, did that influence the title, or is this a global phenomenon? Everyone's talking about it.
No, George, that I was unaware at the time of
No.
that at the time. But cost of living,
Mm,
it means the same thing on the other side of the
everywhere.
island. Maybe it just wasn't as heavy duty.
Ab- Well, it's a very evocative title, and I was looking at it. I was thinking, yeah, it does cost just to live, and you know, you're born into debt.
Yeah, it's got some however many entendres, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
But I mean, that's one of the things that I like about this band, and particularly the some of the record titles. Like the most difficult thing about being in the Jesus Lizard is trying to get the four of us to agree on a four-letter title for an album. And Rack was my idea, and I just really rammed it down their throats. Like I loved the. There's so many entendres of
mm,
Rack. Uh, I think probably 12 or more, and I like that.
yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. It's like I've been a fan of Jesus Lizard since the early 90s, and you come from this golden era, I believe, of bands that seem to be just genuinely about catharsis and art first, and then kind of reluctantly famous, if for want of a better word, or infamous. Like yourselves, the Melvins, you know, bands, most of the Ipecac roster. And was that the case? Like, because it didn't seem like any of the bands were like sort of like courting, you know, this rock star thing at all, like people do these
Right.
days.
Well, I think a lot of us, we're so weaned on punk rock that uh, rock star is a bad word.
Mm,
You're not
yeah.
interested in that at all. And I know whenever I first started being in bands with like Scratch Acid and stuff, fame and fortune never even comes into the picture. You don't ever like you sell 1,000 cassettes and you go, man, fucking people we don't even know are buying this. And so I think there's a huge contingent of people who were, like I say, weaned on the punk rock.
Mm, yeah.
They're doing
Absolutely.
it because they enjoy doing it and it's fun.
That's it. And it seems that today's modern music scene, or just today's culture, seems to be all about, oh, I really want to be famous. And it's like famous for what? I don't know. I'll work it out. It's like the punk rock mission statement, as I understand it, that I grew up with, and you know, with bands like yourself, seems to have been lost in translation somewhat. Um, do you think that's the case, or am I just like an old man shouting at the clouds?
No, I think you're probably right, and this is not exactly in line with what you're talking about, but my wife and I ate dinner at a ramen place just the other day, and on the TV there was some Chinese kind of version of The Voice or America's Got Talent or whatever, that kind of bullshit.
Hmm.
And man, it made me sick at my stomach to watch these beautiful young boys and girls singing these songs, and they're just emoting so much. It was just pathetic. It
Hmm.
was just pathetic.
No
And
heart.
that's that's what the average Joe accepts and enjoys. I don't get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I was speaking to another musician recently where we said everything we love has no physical value. It's like, because he's just done like a modern jazz metal record, it's like that's not going to be a hit, but it's cool, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, one thing I was quite interested. I spoke to your PR and Lauren, and she said, he's an actor too, don't you? And I was like, really? So I did some research on this, and you've worked with the likes of Peter Dinklage, Elijah Wood, Kevin Spacey. You've got an illustrious acting career, and I wondered, um, do you find that's a a useful tool when it comes to like performing on stage? Did the two cross over at all?
Um, Only slightly. I think that I've said this before, like with the Jesus Lizard, I can do anything I want at any time. I can
Mm,
change the lyrics or not sing or go over there or smack that person or just do whatever the fuck I want. And with acting, there's typically um, some direct actual parameters where you have to say this and you have to, go pick up that glass and put it down there and do all this kind of stuff. And so outside of them both being performances, I don't really see that much connection or overlapping.
mm,
Once I sort of kind of got more and more acting, I think in when we did the 2009 reenactment was the beginning of all these reenactment shows. It almost like in I would sort of imagine like an acting class and doing songs like Bloody Mary, which is actually you know what song I'm talking about?
yeah, I do. Yeah.
Which is, it's just a tremendously sad song.
Mm,
And I tried to, I would sort of like approach it from an acting standpoint.
mm,
And it was fun. I mean, I don't think that you could outwardly tell that it would make any difference,
mm.
but that has happened, and with a handful of songs, and that's been fun. But I don't think that there's a whole lot of, at least for me,
Yeah.
there's not a whole lot of overlapping.
Yeah, because I read through your IMDb. Obviously, I pride myself on researching, and it said that improv is one of your marked out skills. Like you're good with improv. I wondered if there was crossover there.
Well, the funny part about that is that my manager and agent thought we should include that in my CV. Is that right? CV? Yes. Because I've taken improvisational classes. I, however, am not good at improv at all, which is funny because I'm relatively clever. I can be quick-witted, but improv,
Mm,
it's so difficult, and it's not for me. Other people can just kick ass at it, but I'm not one of those people.
absolutely, and also. I mean, getting back to the because this did make me think. To be a good actor, you have to be quite a good study of human nature, human behavior, I would imagine. So would that inform your lyrics? Because I've noticed your lyrics seem to be quite informed by human behavior.
Um,
If you take like, for example, a song like Mouth Breather,
yeah,
that
I mean,
that takes someone observing other people. Like,
observing is the word I was going to say. It's got to be, it's a fair amount of observation and people watching, and to a degree, sort of psychology, um, uh, and imagination.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, how does it sit with you? Because one thing that I noticed when I've been to see you a couple of times, your fans are really big fans. Yeah, they're fanatical fans. They really, they're like Killing Joke fans. They got all the stuff. How does that sit with you? Are you like just do you find it strange or are you just like comfortable with it? How does it sit with you as a artist? Like, do you find the whole thing still a bit crazy?
Um, I'm not sure how aware I am of it. I mean, I am to a degree, uh, but it's always just flattering to me. I mean,
Hmm.
uh, whenever anybody seems to appreciate something I've done or something that we have done uh, so fervently, it's really nice, and I take it sincerely, and I am really grateful that anybody likes the craft that we do. Um, I used to have a really hard time with compliments. Uh, I couldn't take, I just couldn't take a compliment, and after a while, I realized that that's very rude. If somebody says to you, "Hey, man, I love this thing that you did," you don't say, "No, I suck." You're insulting them. And so if somebody wants to take the time to thank you or tell you how whatever they think you are, uh, the best reaction is just to say thank you very much. All right. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, talking of fans, my songwriting partner, I'm in a production team. Nathaniel is a bigger, even bigger fan, Jesus is a fan. He was him that played you first to me. And I asked him if, since I'm talking to Dave Yao, do you have a question you'd like me to ask? And he's come out with a deep cut, so we'll go for it. Historically speaking, you've covered a song from Jesus Christ Superstar in the past with Scratch Acid. Is this correct? Yeah?
Yes.
Yes. Um, would you ever entertain the idea of covering another song from a musical? And if so, which one do you think would be right for a makeover?
Um, God, I wish my memory didn't suck so much. I've always, largely because of our drummer Mac, who's the nicest guy in the world. Did you ever see Oklahoma, the
Oh, yes.
musical? I say that Mac is like, I'm just a girl who can't say
No.
no. Uh, I think that would be a killer song for us to do. Um,
I always thought that song would be funny if you did it. I'm just a girl that can't say and just
yeah, or just I'm just a girl who can't say. Um, I really dug the Cows version of 39 Lashes.
Yeah.
Um, because if you think of what Lloyd Wright and Andrew Lloyd, wait, no, Tim Wright and Andrew Lloyd Webber, if you pretend that they were a band and imagine they meet up for practice one day and one guy says, "Oh man, I've written these lyrics. Listen to this. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and go all the way up to 39." That's lyrically what an amazing song.
It's gonna blow your mind.
Yeah.
Now, in the time that you've been away, the music industry changed a lot. I mean, with the advent of Spotify, etc., etc. How have you found it since you've come back? Have you felt the change? Have you felt the sea change in the music industry, or for you, is it not so much or a lot?
I don't really know about the changes in the music industry. I just know that our band is far more popular now than we were when we broke up in 1999. And I blame the internet. It's
Right.
like, and the blame is a good thing. I mean, I
Hmm.
appreciate that more
Hmm.
people give a fuck about us than they did in the 90s. Um, but as far as the music biz itself, I don't really know.
Hmm. Right. One thing else I found out about you whilst doing my research, and this one's a surprising one. You published a book of drawings of cats and
Uh-huh.
puns on the word cat. Is this
Yeah,
correct?
that is correct. Yes, yes, it is.
Wow. Well, how did that come about? What drove that?
Um, I was an art major in school, in college and stuff, and so I used to draw and paint a lot. Um, and then in the very early 80s, one of my best friends was a guy named Tom, and I would draw these stupid little cats that were always in the same position. They were always standing in the same position. And I put a T-shirt on it, and it said Tom, and it was Tomcat. And
Right.
so that led into just anything else where the letters CAT are, catastrophic, catamaran.
Got it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so that yeah. So we had worked for some years on doing the Jesus Lizard book that was published by Akashic, and Johnny Temple from Girls Against Boys runs Akashic uh, Publishing, and I asked him, would you be willing to do this cat book? And he was sort of reluctant because they had never done anything quite like that, but he liked the idea, and so that's how that happened.
That's incredible. I'll seek it out. It sounds very intriguing.
Yeah, you can get it on Amazon, but just go to akashic.org.
Awesome. Awesome. Right. We'll wrap this up on a question that I've asked everybody I've interviewed this year. And the question is, if the education committee came to you and said, we need a recommendation for a child of coming up to 18 needs to hear before he goes out into adulthood, what song, any genre, would you recommend a young formative youth listen to set them up?
One song.
Well, you can have a few if you want. There's people who've done a couple of wildly different things, and it's any genre.
Anywhere on This Road by Lhasa.
Right. Excellent.
Do you know that song?
I don't, but I'll look it up.
Well, she did a record called The Living Road, and I got turned on to it right as we started writing this last record. And I honestly believe it might be the best record ever made.
Wow.
And so anything by Lhasa, particularly off of the album The Living Road.
Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. I do like to give our viewers something to go out and find that's new and different. So that's amazing. Yes. Thank you
Perfect.
so much for talking to me today, David. It's an absolute honor.
My pleasure, George. Thank you, and have a wonderful evening.